You can watch us in glorious HD because I have Rory Bremner with me, a well-known impressionist. Good to see you again. Now, we've marked the fact that it's 100 days to the election. I think it was on Tuesday.
Yes.
What kind of election campaign are you expecting?
Well, I think it's going to be very exciting, actually. I think it's one of those ones where it is wide open, and but we've got to sort the debates out first. Are we up to about 12 participants?
I think
now?
so, yeah.
Because obviously, David, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it unless the Scottish Socialist Party. I think they are underrepresented. I think it's time that they got in, and clearly this is going to go run and run. But yeah, it's tight, and I think it's interesting because after the referendum in Scotland last year, people are sort of coming back into politics, but most of it is happening outside Westminster, and it's a question of how all the politics that's outside Westminster can get through that sort of two-party door.
The pundits all seem to think there's going to be some sort of hung parliament, a coalition of one degree or another. What's your dream coalition?
Oh, my Lord, my dream coalition.
One that doesn't involve Nick Clegg, I think, isn't it?
I think, well, actually, the funny thing is we found out when we're doing a show at the moment, and about Nick Clegg and the tuition fees. So I didn't realise that but he didn't have to do it. It was specifically in the coalition agreement that if the Lib Dems didn't want to raise tuition fees, he didn't have to do it. And George Osborne said to him privately, well, I wouldn't do it if I were you. But obviously, that's why he did. He thought, well, right, well, I'll do it then. And it's the Michael Howard school at the Playbook. Well, no, I wouldn't do it if I were you, Nick. But then you're a Conservative. I'm a Conservative. You're a Liberal Democrat. You could do it, but you won't. You'd have to be so brave. Oh, look, it's a long way down, isn't it? You're not going to jump. It's all right. I'm not going to push. Oh, are you all right? But that was the most bizarre thing. Yeah, but it's the most extraordinary thing is, I mean, the great casualties of this looks like at the moment from the polls, people like Nick Clegg and Michael Moore and Danny Alexander may get obliterated.
What's happened to political satire in this country? Because there was a time when you were on television the whole time, and yet, I mean, yes, you pop up from time to time, but I want to see more of you. Why don't TV broadcasters regard political satire as important?
Well, satire has had a bit of a snooze. I think they've got out of the habit. I think that the broadcasters have got out of the habit a little bit. I think that also I don't think they get really satire, or they haven't for the last few years. And they think that politics is a big turn-off. I think that's the also thing. And I had a meeting a few years ago at the BBC, and as soon as I said, well, listen, we're going to do a programme about impressions, it's got to have politics in it. And the atmosphere, you could feel the temperature drop in the room, because I think they felt, oh no, politics, people won't really be interested in politics. But I think if you get people's attention about politics, they do get engaged and they do get very excited. And again, the referendum showed that last year. And I think with this election, with the characters that we've got, there's all the Borises and the Nigel Farage, and I know you're going to come on to that. I know you always do. It always works better for creaky voice. The best time to do Nigel Farage is early in the morning after you've had a hell of a night out, and that's the way to do it.
I was on the Daily Politics this morning, and Nigel Farage was on just before me, and I told him that you were going to come on hopefully in the next couple of days, and that you did him rather well, and he was absolutely delighted. Actually,
well, it's getting close. It's getting close. Let's say that. I won't say more than that. But it is, you have to go out and have a few. I know he's had a dry January, but I mean, I think you do have to have a few drinks. Actually, you have to have a few drinks to vote UKIP, to be honest. But I mean, I'm you, Ian, but after a few drinks.
Okay. Ed Miliband, is he difficult to do?
No, he's... What I would say to you, I mean, he's rock easy, because I just think it's that adenoidal thing. And Matt Ford and I used to talk about... Matt Ford is in this BBC show that we're doing next week. And he and I, we used to think that it was like Tony Blair with a cold, but it's not. It's actually that, the Chris Tarrant thing, when it's all in your adenoids and you're talking like it, and then you go down a little bit, and it is that extraordinary, it's that way of speaking and that habit of forgetting chunks of speeches. But as a child, I swallowed a kazoo, and that's why I speak like this.
And are there people that no matter how hard you try, you just can't do, and you have to give up in the end?
There are a lot of them, and most they're called the cabinet. I mean, I don't think Cameron knows who half the cabinet are. I mean, he's like, I'm terribly sorry, I've forgotten your name. Oh, it's Theresa May, isn't it? I'm so sorry, it was the moustache put me off. Because if you look at the Ed Davies and the Phil Hammonds and even the Andrew Lansleys 5 years ago, when we last did a programme, I was being William Hague. We surprised George Osborne Osborne in his constituency. I dressed up as William Hague, and I had all these pictures of the Conservative cabinet in waiting, Lansley and I can't remember their names now. And I showed them to the people, and I said, "Do you know who this is?" And they didn't. And I said, they didn't recognise them. And I said, "Well, we will be a stealth government, well, people you've never heard of doing things you wouldn't believe." And lo and behold, that happened. I think there's a serious point here. I think we came in. I think we had to turn the country round, and we've done that. I mean, A&E is going backwards. We've got schools now. We've doubled the amount of schools that are failing, and we've added 500 billion to the deficit, to the debate, to the what's the other thing? I'm not good on economics. To ask George about that. The debt. That's it. The debt.
Grant Shapps, can you do him?
No, don't do that to me. Grant Shapps can't do Grant Shapps.
He does it very well when he comes on here.
Does he? Oh, well, there you go. Well,
he does Michael Green quite well.
Well, he's Grant maintained, so he's okay. To be honest, I haven't got into the habit. I don't spend long hours looking at tapes of Grant Shapps, I have to say.
Ed Balls?
Ed Balls I did once years ago, but not very well. No, I'm not sure. Yes, this is...
Oh, sorry, I'm not going to go through the whole shadow cabinet or anything. But I suppose if the Conservatives lost and David Cameron went and Theresa May took over, that's a bit of a nightmare for you. A bit like Mike Yarwood disappeared in 1979, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is difficult to do with... I've done Anne Widdecombe before.
Have you really?
That was slightly different.
Not many men that can say that.
God, what's the time, Ian? Are you allowed to say that before
Boris Johnson?
Oh, no, yeah, well, absolutely. Now we're talking. No, I mean, you Londoners out there, all you people listening in London,
that was Frankie Howard.
You're being facetious now. No. It's, I mean, you people in London, you like a joke, and now you've got one. So no, and onward to Uxbridge and beyond is what we talk. So we do. I mean, as an impressionist, you do like the characters clearly, and so the big ones now, the big beasts are the Farages and the Borises, and I suppose politically that's part of the mix as well, because what you don't want is what we've had to a large extent of these people who nobody recognises. I mean, I've been saying recently that Phil Hammond's wife doesn't know who Phil Hammond is. This guy turns up in the evening, "Darling, I'm home." Who the hell are you? Because we don't, and I think that's a sign of it becoming quite dull and managerial. So it's good to have some characters.
Us again many times before the election. Now you've got this show on BBC Two next Tuesday.
Back for the first time on BBC.
We look forward to it.
On next Tuesday. It's called The Coalition Report, and it's on Tuesday at 10 o'clock on BBC Two.
Marvellous. Rory Bremner, thank you very much.